Welcome, pool guys and gals, to the Let's Talk About Pools podcast, where your host, Lauren Broom, will take a splash into many topics in the pool industry to educate all aquatic professionals. Listen in, and you just might be surprised what you'll learn. So let's jump right in.
Welcome to season 2 of the Let's Talk About Pools podcast, guys. It's been a whole year that you've been listening in to my podcast, and I want to say thank you. And I hope that we continue to have more listeners and keep this awesome podcast going. I want to introduce today, we're episode 27. We're going to be talking about some neat piece of technology called the wave drowning detection system. Can be used in backyard pools and even large public pools for drowning detection. So I want to introduce our 2 podcast guests today. Mark Caron, who's the co-founder and CEO of Wave Drowning Detection Systems, and Dave Cutler, who is the co-founder and chief product officer for Wave Drowning Detection Systems. Please enjoy this episode. It may help some of my pool companies. This is part of the drowning prevention series that I've been working on for the past year. I also want to say thank you to my podcast sponsors today, Skimmer and Sutro, both awesome pieces of technology that uniquely do their own thing in the pool industry. So listen into Skimmer and what they have to offer when it comes to managing your customers and route management and all that good kind of stuff like that. And Sutro, awesome company, up and coming with their smart pool monitor. Testing the water and sending the information in the cloud can be very super helpful. So listen in, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode today. Let's jump right in.
This is Skimmer, software for the modern pool professional. What can you do with Skimmer? See all your customers on a map, build service routes quickly, and let Skimmer optimize them for you. Access customer information, including contact details and full service history, anytime and anywhere. Customize work orders to track jobs like repairs and filter cleanings. Email your customers when you complete a service. You can include service details and on-site photos. Does your customer need a part? Add it to the shopping list and track it from purchase to installation. Skimmer will even remind you what parts you need for the day, and you can mark them as installed right when you're finished. Skimmer doesn't just store your service history. It helps you get paid. We integrate with QuickBooks Online for fast, easy invoicing. And we've got more billing options coming soon. All that's just the beginning. Go to getskimmer.com to watch our demo video, check out our online tutorials, and see if Skimmer is right for you.
Welcome, everybody, today to my podcast, Let's Talk About Pools. And on my podcast episode today, my guests are Mark Caron, who's a co-founder and CEO of Wave Drowning Detection Systems. And I also have Dave Cutler on with me, who's also the co-founder and chief product officer for Wave. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. I've been looking forward very much to having you guys on. When I saw your system on social media, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I'm doing a drowning prevention series. So I thought this would be awesome to have on the series that I'll be running this summer for 2021 on drowning prevention. So tell me a little bit about yourselves. Mark, we'll start with you, and then Dave, and then whoever wants to come in and tell us about what Wave is and what it does.
Sure. So as you mentioned in the name, it's a drowning detection system. We think more broadly of a swimmer safety system. It ultimately measures how long swimmers are underwater. And if they're underwater too long, it provides alerts for that. But it's not only detecting drownings, which of course are relatively rare, but it's really monitoring sort of dangerous behavior, specifically breath holding. So either kids playing breath holding games or adult lap swimmers, trying to swim that full length of a lap without taking a breath, which of course most experts advise against because all the things that can cause. So that's what it is. We do that through a wearable that goes on the head, either attached to swim goggles or a little headband thing that we have goes behind the head. Or for non-swimmers, we have a little buddy tag that alerts immediately if like a toddler goes in the water.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So
And
tell me a little bit about you, Mark. How you got
my
into
background
it.
has really been in technology my whole career. I worked from big companies, including Ericsson, a big mobile technology company. And the past 25 years have been doing startups, mostly in mobile technology and related things. And this was just an incredible opportunity. I met Dave about 5 or 6 years ago. He can tell he's been in this a lot longer than I have. And it was just an incredible opportunity to apply something I knew about to, saving lives, solving a really serious problem that, as we all know, the drowning rates haven't gone down with all the efforts over the years. They've stayed steady, which all the other accidental drowning death sources have been coming down, whether it's simple things like seat belts in cars or helmets on bikes have made big differences. Mm-hmm. And we're really out to make a big difference in drowning.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about you, Dave.
Yeah, I'm a designer and tinkerer, inventor, and entrepreneur. And I got involved when a 9-year-old boy who was a classmate of my daughter's drowned in our town park. And there were 6 camp counselors and 5 lifeguards. I may be reversing those numbers, but you can understand. There were plenty of people watching, and this little boy went under, and the guard didn't know about it until his twin brother said, "I can't find my brother." And by serendipity, my children were at that same park that morning. So I realized it could have been my kids just as easy, and started researching it. And being an inventor, I started looking into different technologies. And as Mark said, I've been involved probably more about 10 years. That was 2016. 2006. That's right. 2006. My gosh. So ever since then, it's really become a passion, part of my life. And Mark and I met, and we clicked. He got it right away, and he has the business and technology background, to really make this come true.
Wow. So the passion and the technology kind of came together here.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome.
I always say, when you've got a box sitting next to your desk that can save lives, how can you work on anything else?
And it's amazing when something like that happens, like you realize it could happen to your child. And it's like, yeah, I know drowning rates aren't as high as maybe other things, but when it's your child that drowns, that it doesn't matter what the numbers are. It's a personal thing. And we need to care about each life, like you said, in that way, because it's devastating to a family and to the parents when they lose a child.
I had no idea. I would go to a pool, drop off my kid for his lessons or her lessons, and sit in the recliner and fall asleep. I didn't know that it was also my responsibility to watch my kids too. I just relied on the lifeguard. And obviously this experience has changed me forever. And anyone who knows me or happens to meet me at a bus stop learns, how important it is that we all keep our eyes on our children around water, and what we realized was, even if you're, a trained lifeguard or a diligent parent, it's really difficult to miss a drowning because it happens so quickly. And it gets mistaken for just someone playing or, swimming underwater. And that's why we created WAVE. We're not trying to be the panacea of drowning prevention, but one additional powerful layer of protection.
Right. And the layers of protection are wonderful. If anybody's listened to my previous podcast episodes that will air this summer, you're one of those layers. So if any of the listeners haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that episode on layers of protection, because there's more than one thing that you got to do to help prevent drowning prevention. Yeah. So we kind of talked about why you started WAVE. Is there anything else you want to add into that? or did we cover that?
Well, one of the things we think about, obviously, we're mostly about when people are supposed to be in the water. People are swimming or at least around the water, right? Because there's a wearable involved. We do have the buddy tag for a toddler if they're kind of getting out, and that alarms instantly. But when you think about when kids or even adults are around the water, if you're watching them, we really are expecting people, whether it's parents or lifeguards, to really be 100% perfect 100% of the time, right? And that's just something humans aren't good at doing. And so having something that's watching out, computers are basically better at doing that, right? And just doing one single thing. And we'll give you a demo in a little bit to show you the sort of simplicity of our system. It's sort of very clear when a person's face is underwater, they can't breathe. And if that goes on too long, that's a problem. And so that's really what we're all about is alerting people to that situation.
And the good word you use is simple. The simpler you make it, the more likely people are going to be able to use it and are willing to use it. If you make it really complex, they're like, okay.
Yeah. And that was my experience in the first products that I was helping to design, and develop. I tell people it was like, working on a DOS computer, from the 80s, and Wave, on the other hand, is like the iMac, of drowning detection systems. We just made it very intuitive to use and simple to use. And we also thought about how busy lifeguards are and staff around water. So we very thoughtfully, I think, designed it so that it's very easy to distribute and collect the wearables. We've made very intuitive storage systems because it's also about, managing it. And like we always say too, the guards do nothing different. They wear a bracelet that will vibrate if there's an event. That's in addition to our system sounding an alert, which is adjustable volume, a strobe light. So, even if it's in a noisy environment, the guards feel the vibration, so they know that something's going on. But other than that, wearing that bracelet, we don't really impact how the facility runs their safety protocol in terms of watching over the swimmers.
That's awesome. Awesome. So how does the system work?
Yeah, well, it involves a wearable. And as I know, not everyone's on viewing. So there's essentially a very lightweight headband looking thing. Goes around the back of the head. It floats. It's very lightweight, comfortable. It kind of forms to the head. We've had thousands of people using these, and I think I can say only 1% have had an issue. I've started out saying 3% and then 2%. And it's literally, I can't remember the last time someone said, I don't want to wear this thing. They put it in the water. They forget they have it on. Or you can clip these little clips onto goggles, for those of you watching video. And essentially, the way it works is there a low energy Bluetooth beacon on the front end of each one of these things. And that's transmitting twice a second to our central hub, which will give you a demo in a minute here. And we take advantage of the fact that more than about an inch of water blocks that signal. So we're essentially looking for the absence of that swimmer. And as long as, let's say, if you set it at 20 seconds, which is adjustable, as long as once every 20 seconds you're taking a breath, it resets the timer. And you're fine. So essentially, like having a stopwatch on every swimmer in the pool, measuring how long they're underwater.
Wow,
so
that's pretty cool. All right, so how is it different from some of the older systems?
Dave, you can maybe chime in.
Yeah, in a number of ways. The previous systems or a couple of the systems that are still out there. And first, let me say that we applaud any efforts from any company or, quote, competitor that's trying to reduce drownings. We're all in for good cause. So, the more the merrier. Wave, there's no installation. So I know that pool owners are very concerned about their deck, the way their appearance is. They don't want to get involved in any of the filtration systems or the recycling, water cycling. Waves just deploy. Mark knows because he's done so many demos. You basically walk up to the body of water, and by the way, wave doesn't only work in pools. It also works in lakes and the ocean, any body of water. And you basically walk up to that body of water and you can start using it. The only real factor might be range. We have a range of around 1,000 feet, ideally, in ideal circumstances, line of sight, clear line of sight. So we've walked up to, or Mark's walked up to probably hundreds of pools for the first time and sets the system up in a matter of minutes, and they're literally start using it. So that's a really important feature. There's no complicated installation, no permits. You just start using the system. Also, it's portable. You can take it from a pool and then go to a lake and use the same system. It's battery powered. So there's no outlet required except for recharging it. And the high end, the W1000 system lasts for about 18 hours. The W100 system lasts for 9 hours unless you upgrade it to the 18 hours. And our residential system is about 4 to 6 hours. It all depends on how many alerts, and stuff like that happens. So, we think that's, all of our systems are managed by a very intuitive app. So again, it's a very...
I want to say thank you to my other awesome podcast sponsor today. Awesome piece of technology that's going to help many pool owners and pool service companies to monitor and manage their pool water chemistry. So it's merging that technology that we have and bringing it into the pool industry to do awesome water testing. So listen in, and thank you again for being a sponsor of the Let's Talk About Pools podcast. Let's listen to Sutro. Introducing Sutro, the award-winning pool monitor for your pool. It connects your pool to the cloud. It's the first floating digital test kit. The Sutro app tells you exactly what chemicals to add and when. Powered by the Lamont reagent cartridges. The most innovative smart pool maintenance system. Pool water maintenance forever change. It's a smart device that will keep your pool chemicals balanced.
So, in addition, what makes portability and simplicity, ease of use, and also in previous systems, the wearables were kind of clunky, cumbersome. The wearables that we're using now, as you can see, they're very, very lightweight. They go behind the swimmer's head. So there's really no vanity issues at all. People aren't concerned about a suntan line going across their forehead or anything like that. And so, and everything is wireless. So there's nothing, not only there's nothing installed around the pool, there's nothing has to go into the pool. For lakes, we do offer what we call locators, and they aid in locating a swimmer in dark water. But in clear water pools, that really isn't needed. So nothing even goes into the water.
Wow.
Okay.
So, Mark, you're at a pool there, so you're going to demonstrate for us and also narrate for us what's going on. If listeners want to see the actual video portion of what he's going to be talking about, you can always find the video part of the podcast up on the YouTube channel for Space Coast Pool School. So you're going to show us how it works. This will be really cool.
Yeah, no, it's quite simple. So I'm just sort of demonstrating the core premise of the system is that water blocks the signal that's coming, the very low energy Bluetooth beacons that are transmitting from these headsets. They actually have a 3-year battery life, up to 3 years, depending how often they're used. That just tells you how low energy they are. There's absolutely no radiation risk or anything. But essentially, this right now is set for 20 seconds. So if you can see, hopefully you can guys see that are online. I'm just sort of, even my face was just a little bit underwater. We test like the dead man floats with just your face is underwater, but it essentially submerges the front end of our wearables enough into the water that it blocks that signal. And then we essentially have a countdown, and that's only at 10% volume. For commercial pools at 100%, you can hear it for almost a half a mile. And very importantly, as soon as you pull this thing out of the water, it interrupts and the signal stops. So, as Dave mentioned, the lifeguards wear bracelets. Those often are set to vibrate first. So that might be only set, say, 15 seconds. And it helps them monitor, kind of the dangerous, breath holding behavior we talked about. And if it goes on maybe 25 seconds, another 10 seconds, then, you'd hear that very loud alert. It has a bright strobe on it. It also internet connected. So you can be alerting, a security guard if there's no lifeguard, or a phone. Any internet connected device can get an alert as well.
Wow, it's as simple as that. That's so, and you know what? Make it simple. It just works so well that way.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, there are other camera-based systems for commercial pools. Right now, we're the only drowning prevention system available for home pools. There are some other ones out of Europe that are available for commercial pools, but they rely mostly on cameras. And it's hard for humans to discern if someone is drowning or struggling, and it's even harder for computers. So a lot of them are sort of resorting to a motionless body at the bottom of the pool, which if someone intervenes quickly enough, they're probably going to be okay. But we're trying to catch it long before that, even while a person is still struggling, and they can get help. And that obviously removes the trauma, even if there's no long-term injury, just the trauma from that kind of drowning. No one wants to be involved with that.
Right. We're really like an early warning, drowning detection system. I mean, we can't put in, so many words to describe what it is in short little blurbs, online or in our ads. But really what we're doing is we're letting guards know that a swimmer has been submerged for a straight period of time, and they may be at risk. They may not be drowning. They may not be fine, but now you're aware of it. And maybe, you thought that person came up for air when you were scanning, but they didn't come up for air. So now you're aware of it, and you can then intervene, investigate and intervene if necessary. If the swimmer's fine, that's great. I mean, even if they're holding their breath too long, you tell them, that's prohibited. Don't do that. It's dangerous. But at least now the guards are aware that a swimmer's been underwater too long.
It's distressed. Yeah.
Right.
I guess I kind of think of this as kind of like the lightning detectors or something like that. And then they give a nice warning before it detects it so far away. And then a lot of the public pools use them so that they have enough time to clear the pool deck and get everybody out of the water and out off the deck prior to the storm getting close enough where it could do something. But this is your same kind of detection system, but in a different way for drowning.
Right.
I mean, it's not the same, but it's similar in some ways in the detection type way.
Right. Very good.
Awesome.
Good analogy.
So I know I had seen on Facebook or something like that, somebody's using the system. I know down here in Florida, some big organizations. That leads me to the question, who is using your system right now?
Yeah, so right now we have 7 commercial pools around the country using it. We have a number of others that we're in active discussions with. A little history, we launched the product, the commercial pool product, right before COVID. and we managed to get one system installed, and they were ordering a second one, and we had a pretty nice lineup there. And of course, all those commercial pools closed during COVID, and even as they've been recovering or opening, some of the financial recovery has been slow. So we've been working with them to try to. We have different pricing options and whatnot. But we're really around the country, a couple YMCAs, some school pools, Boys and Girls Club, Parks and Rec. In Florida, specifically, the Boys and Girls Club of Broward County in the Fort Lauderdale area. We've been deployed there. That's when we did an event there recently. Also, there's a Parks and Rec pool in Naples, Florida.
That's the one I saw. That's the one I saw on Facebook.
So we did several weeks of testing there, and now we're in the contracting phase to roll that out.
Nice.
And so we're out in Texas and Utah and Indiana and Connecticut, Boston,
all over the place. So you're national.
Yeah, we are.
Awesome.
Much.
Well, drowning can happen anywhere. If there's a body of water, it doesn't even have to be a swimming pool. Like you said, you can use this in a lake.
Yeah.
Out
on the boat, actually, people, one of our original investors, actually, he was motivated because he had a friend that had a drowning off of a boat.
I was going to ask if you could use it with a boat. Like, does it run off like your hot spot, or is it just it need anything like that?
It does not need an internet connection.
No internet connection. So that's awesome, because I know when I talked to the gal from Department of Health, she had brought up boat safety as well with drowning and drowning prevention. So that's awesome to know that it's outside of just the one aquatic environment that a lot of people think of. There's lots of other aquatic environments that drownings happen in. So that's good that it works that way. That's good for the audience to know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. I wouldn't even have thought of that until now.
Cool. It's people swimming off of boats. I mean, that's what, it's one of the nice things to do when you go boating is go for a swim. And
I've done it down here in Florida. We've gone out on the lagoon here. And we're out on the boat. You anchor off one of the islands in the middle of the lagoon, and you go swimming, and you literally can walk up there, but if they're little, they can still drown in that water. Yeah. So you love going out to the islands and just checking them out. But it's another aquatic environment.
Yes. And we also, for the commercial systems, for the cruise ships, they all have pools, and they do have drownings. It's, at least every year, there's one story, and that's a crazy environment. So, WAVE is a perfect application for that type of situation.
That's awesome. I wouldn't even have thought of that. I know we have a CPO instructor that does all the CPO classes for a lot of the cruise ship industry. She used to work for, I believe, Team Horner back in the day. Miss Connie Sue Centrella. I will put her name out there. She's awesome instructor, been with PHTA and SPF for a long time. So she probably can relate to that cruise ship part of it a little bit. So how much does the system cost, and how do you work with facilities if, like you said, they're having financial struggles, especially like, county owned facilities or anything government owned? They're going to be struggling financially after trying to reopen from the closure.
Yeah. Great. So just to give a rough idea of sort of a 50 swimmer system that's typical of a community pool, it starts roughly in the $10,000 to $11,000 range and go up depending on some of the accessories you have with it. The home pool system starts at $1,200 plus the cost of wearables. So it gets up into the $1,300, $1,400 depending on what you want to do with it. For the commercial pools, what we've been doing is actually offering it on a subscription basis. It's sort of like a rental or a lease, but technically it's neither. It's actually a subscription because we do have a service and software component with it. So we bundle that together. So roughly speaking, if a $10,000 system, because it also has that $10,000 also has a couple $100 a month service fee that goes with it, but we can bundle the equipment and the service together for, say, roughly $650 a month. So for organizations that, a capital expense is difficult to make, they can just, shift it to a monthly. And, there are, when we enter a new city, we tend to offer, a discount or delayed billing or something. Because, obviously we want to get out there. And awareness, is a whole new product category. A lot of people have just never heard of it, and they want to see it and feel it and touch it. So, as we expand into new cities, we're eager to, get a good partner who's, willing to work with us. And the aquatics field is great in that it's a very collaborative group. I always kind of joke, you could have a YMCA pool, a town pool, and like a JCC pool within a block of each other. And the aquatics people all want to collaborate and help each other out. And how do we, promote exercise and safety and all that good stuff. So it's been a great group to work with. I
have to totally agree. 17 years in the industry, and it's like everybody likes to help each other out. It's all about safety and trying.
Yeah, and I have a career in technology. A lot of it is selling to big companies and stuff, and they want to be the only one to have that technology. Like, it's a secret. Don't tell anyone else.
Yep.
Aquatics is not that way. It's not.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So what has been the reaction to your system?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, to be honest, it is an incredibly fulfilling thing when you go out and Lauren, your reaction, is comments like, wow, that is really cool. And people are moved to it. I mean, you talk to parents, either who have lost a child or maybe even not experienced a drowning, but are so concerned about it. And they are, like visibly touched by what we're doing. So it's been incredibly gratifying. Certainly I've never worked in anything in my career that had that emotion to it. And as Dave's comment about, you can't sit next to a box that saves lives and stop yourself from working on it. And so, that's a big part of what drives us and our team. Is obviously it's a great mission, and also just the feedback we get is tremendous, and that keeps us moving forward to make sure this thing works, perfectly all the time and is affordable and can work everywhere. That's our goal.
Yep. Technology is amazing today that we need to use it for good, not for, and this is a good product. This is a good thing. We're trying to solve a problem. And again, you're right up front saying it can't be the only thing. And you said that in the very beginning of the podcast it can't be the only thing, but it's that one extra thing that will help, which is good.
That's right. That's right.
So
I was just going to add, some of the reactions might be, Mark said, like, they're always favorable. Some concerns might be, will it make my staff, complacent? And, we respond that our customers are telling us it's actually making the guards more engaged, because they're checking, make sure the swimmers are wearing their wearables. It's, in the water, and it's keeping them more engaged because they also, sort of want to beat the system. They want to discover something that might be wrong before our system does. And in general, we always, use the analogy, if, just because you're wearing a seatbelt doesn't mean you go drive crazy, and just because you have a smoke detector in your house doesn't mean you light lit matches, and throw them on the carpet in your house. And we think most people get it, they're intelligent enough to understand that, and they continue doing their best job ever. But I think it also, we've talked about this too, that it also does, relieve some of the pressure, especially on teenagers, young teenagers that go through the lessons, learn CPR, become certified lifeguards, and then go do this for the first time. That's an enormous amount of responsibility. And, having a system like Wave sort of watching their back, I think, we think will help keep lifeguards, staff in place.
Yeah. We've heard it actually helps recruiting, right? I mean, having a pool that has the latest, greatest technology to empower lifeguards to do a better job is actually an attractive thing. I mean, all these young lifeguards are techno friendly.
Yes, they are.
When we show up, they're like, wow, this is cool. Right? And like, mean, my employer's giving this to me so I can do a better job. I mean, that's a powerful statement to make.
I actually can see what you're saying, Dave, that I think it wouldn't actually make them more complacent. It makes them realize that they have something there that is kind of watching. So if they aren't paying attention, something happens, and then that wave system detects something, it actually is kind of a backup watching them. So if they know something's kind of watching them, they're going to watch more, I think, in some ways.
We think so too. And it's also, the very act of using the system, it's a reminder that while swimming is really fun, there is risk. So just like when kids put a bike helmet on or we click our seatbelts, it's a reminder, a daily reminder of that risk. And again, it doesn't mean you're going to go drive recklessly because now I've got a seatbelt on, I'm going to drive reckless. It's just a reminder you have to be careful.
Awesome.
So the other thing I'll just add about the lifeguards, our pools have said that they found the lifeguards are more aware of how long swimmers are staying underwater, right? Because they kind of have this counter, and Dave's point, they want to know before the buzzer, their wrist buzzes. I bet that guy's been underwater. Boop, there it is. Okay, no, but he's coming up. He's okay. I'll remind him of the breath holding rule, but it's just kind of getting them more aware of that, which is
awesome.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, just everything we're talking, it just falls right in line with the things that, from interviewing previous people and just, again, taking the technology we have, it's there, you guys are basically both tech people, or at least Mark is. So he's taken that technology and applied it. And it's something that's lightweight. I mean, we couldn't have done anything like this 10, 15, 20 years ago, but the technology we have now with things lighter and smaller and Bluetooth and all this stuff, it's amazing. And I'm sure it's going to come along way more as we move forward, which I'll get to that question in a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
So my next question for you guys is, how are you guys working with the drowning prevention community? Because there's a very large community with NDPA and lots of different organizations out there. They're local. There's some really good local ones, like I know here in Florida, and then NDPA's national level. So tell me a little bit how you guys are working with them.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, only because recently we've started to form relationships with a couple of these organizations and coalitions. And we totally understand their approach to layers of protection. So we're very careful to point out that, again, WAVE is not the panacea of all things drowning prevention, but a layer of protection. And what we're doing is, with the launch of our consumer system, the W10, or residential system, the W10, we're working with these nonprofits who will participate to raise money. We're donating 5% of sales that are directed from that particular organization. And then we are accepting donations for a general fund on our website, which will be equally distributed to all of these organizations. And we're also working with them to put their literature into our packaging. So someone might buy that residential system, the W10, and when they open up their package, there's also a water watcher card or some type of pamphlet about an organization. So, what we want to do is become part of, the drive to keep swimming safe. And if keeping, swimmers safe is education and water watchers, we're all for it. Put that water watcher there all the time and have our system there just in case. That's how we look at it. Put locks on all your doors and your gates, but have our system there just in case. So, I think they've all really been receptive there's always a hesitancy to appear as if they're specifically endorsing a product. And we understand that. We do. So that's why we're working with them to present Wave as an option to keep to reduce drowning.
And we're also very active with sort of the drowning prevention. In Florida, it's county based. The Water Smart Broward or Water Smart Collier, and so those coalitions or task force, we are really enjoy working with them and get the word out, and they've been very receptive. Of course, other areas it's more state based or metro region based. So both those local coalitions as well as like the foundations, some of which have gotten pretty big and sort of have somewhat of a national scope. And we're also working with a new one out of South Florida called Action to End Drowning. It's actiontoenddrowning.org. It was actually founded by an investor, a gentleman named Arthur Benjamin, and his wife Mara had made an investment in the company, and learned more and more about drowning, and were moved to start a nonprofit and primarily to fund efforts in lower income neighborhood community pools. So education, swim lessons, and also technology, so, subsidizing. So they actually subsidize the cost of the system at the Broward County Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And they're looking to do more. So to the extent that you have a Florida audience, they're starting in Florida and then going national. So if there are community pools, especially in lower income neighborhoods that are interested in this product, we can help get funding for that.
Awesome. Thank you for adding that in. That's very, because there is those struggling areas. There's some cities that have considered closing their city or county pool where the more reasonably priced swim lessons are, because as you have apps now that have people doing swim lessons and offering it through apps and stuff as working for that company, and they're doing it in people's home pools. Not everybody can afford to build a home pool in their backyard.
Sure.
So you've got areas of people where if they can't economically build a pool and they can't economically pay for those private swim lessons, now you've got a whole group of people who aren't getting swim lessons.
Right. And
is one of the layers.
Know that the drowning rate in those communities is 4 or 5 times higher for kids, because they're not getting swim lessons and they're not getting education and awareness.
Right. And the swim lessons and the education, again, another layer of protection. Doesn't mean that swim lessons is a catch-all to everything. A kid that knows how to swim can still drown somewhere. So again, we keep talking and coming back to the layers of protection, which is really what, if anybody listening to this series this summer on my podcast, I want them to walk away with that. And I think that really will cover most of the layers of protection in the different episodes that they're going to listen to.
And I just want to add to that for listeners too, because, everyone can become an advocate just if they say, just a few words to people who are less aware of the risk of drowning. One of the comments we get in social media is from parents who say, well, that's a great idea, but my kids know how to swim. And, what they don't understand is knowing how to swim doesn't make you drown proof. I mean, statistics, bear that out very well. So, when you're talking to anyone, a parent, who like myself, because I was the same way. I was like that. My kid knows how to swim. I didn't give it a second thought, and it's just not the case. You always have to keep an eye on your kids, no matter what. And, ideally, deploy Wave and use it to keep your family even safer. And I did want to circle back to the NDPA only because it's an interesting anecdote. When I used to go to their conferences, and when I was learning about drowning and wanted to develop a system, I gave my first talk about using technology as a solution, and they put me up in a room in a hallway to do my talk, and about 6 people came in, and it was mostly college students who listened to what I had to say. And fast forward maybe 5-6 years later, when we went down with our wave system to give a demonstration and a talk, we were put into a room, a hall, with other companies that had solutions. And there were probably 300 people in that hall. And so there's definitely been, a shift in the attitude and acceptance of using technology as a solution. So we wish they'd move a little faster, the NDPA, if any of you are out there listening, to help spread the word about using technology as an additional layer of protection.
And see, I like how you added that in, because again, you're not trying to claim that your product is the catch-all to everything.
Right.
You're just trying to say, let's use the technology that we have, like we've said already, to try to enhance the safety. But we still need to do all the other things that the facilities or NDPA wants to have done.
That's right. And like any alarm security system, the security system goes off, wave alarm goes off. But if there isn't, responsible supervision around to intervene and perform the rescue, human beings perform rescues. They're trying to make robots that'll help people out in the middle of the ocean, which is a fantastic idea. But for the most part, when a person's drowning, the only way to rescue that person is another human being. And we totally acknowledge that. We're a smoke detector for pools. We're
it's a good way to put it.
It's
a good way to put it.
That we should rename ourselves pool smoke detector.
That might get a few head scratches.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's next for Wave?
Yeah, well, the home pool product we just launched, so that's brand new. We had always had that in the roadmap. We really wanted to perfect it in the commercial environment, and I mentioned Dave's holding it up. It's a very small unit. It's about 10 inches high. It only weighs a few pounds. The beauty of electronics, you can shrink this down. It's up to 10 swimmers, and it's in a smaller range at like 100, 150 feet. So it's definitely made more for backyard pools. And but it works the same. It's the same wearables. It's the exact same concept, and we're rolling that out. What I was saying before is about the aquatic centers. We got great feedback in 2019, early 2020. We were out there, testing this in pools, well over 100, commercial pools and aquatic directors, and that was hugely valuable to us in making the product what it is today. So that was the plan, to do that first, really perfect it there, and then roll it out at the home pool. There are obviously more drownings at home pools. We wanted to get that price down, and we're going to continue to drive that down. The electronics, every spin you take at it, it'll get smaller and cheaper and better. So that's very much part of our plan. We're pretty focused in the U.S. market now. We've had a number of inquiries from other countries, which we will get around to. As most tech startups, we're fundraising, so there are folks out there interested in investing. Please let us know. And we're always looking for partners. So we're not right now in retail. We expect next year that product will be in retail. So we're doing rollout of that. We do some retail experiments, but then come fall, when a lot of the retail stuff happens for next year in the pool industry, we'll be out having those discussions about additional channels to get into. But right now it's available through our website, which is Wave DDS, as in drowning detection system.com. And if you put a /W10, you'll get there directly to our
residential home unit.
Yeah.
Right.
And how can anybody get a hold of you guys if they want to talk to you after hearing you on the podcast?
Yeah, well, our emails are simple. It's just Mark at wavedds.com and Dave at wavedds.com. They're happy to, I'll share my phone number as well. My cell is 201-757-2480. And as long as the spam, well, I guess the telemarketers already have that number anyway. So, but please give us a call. And, we have a team. I guess we're about, 12 or 15 people, depending on how you count them, some part-time people, and mostly on the technical side, but we're increasing on the sales. And we're actually looking to hire a full-time salesperson. So
awesome.
If any of those folks out there.
Somebody looking for a job.
Someone looking for a job.
Help wanted.
Help wanted, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast today and talking about your system and how it's one of those really important layers of protection, and just exciting to talk about the technology with drowning prevention and protecting that whole side of things. So thank you so much for being on today, and you guys have a really wonderful day.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Thanks for diving in today with the Let's Talk About Pools podcast. Be sure to follow us on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. And feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts so more aquatic professionals like you can learn about the show. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Let's Talk About Pools podcast.